everyone, joining you today is your host, Emily Reifsnyder. I'm your host of the Into the Darkroom podcast. On this show, we bring in guests to discuss the arts and gain a new perspective on what it's like outside of the school curriculum. Joining us today is 2020 Pennsylvania College of Art and Design Photography and Videography alum, Karim Gavins. Karim is a visual artist who utilizes a variety of photography, drawing, physical and digital manipulation to create a diverse body of work. Welcome, Karim.
Thank you very much. That's such a nice intro.
Thank you.
It's very concise. I like it.
All right. So I guess my first question to you is about kind of like transitioning from your time at PCA&D after graduation out into like the real world.
What about it?
Kind of like how did that go for you? Like how do you feel like PCA&D kind of prepared you for like working in a photography related job?
Yes, definitely. I think it's also just a lot of Eric and the photo staff, just because they're very great at helping you like find your particular thing and kind of like really going into that. And I think mine just so happened to be something that works really well in like what field do I work in? I guess commercial arts. I guess like my abilities in Photoshop, or like the thing that I'm good at in Photoshop and everything, and being able to use a lot of those programs and learn them really fast, I think was a really helpful thing that they taught me how to kind of just like keep going with. Because now it's like if I want to do something, I feel like I can technically just go do it. It's more about artistically, like how do I want to do it. But I think they did a good job of helping me hone in on my technical abilities. Yeah.
And then do you want to kind of explain what you're doing now?
I work as a photo technician at TC Shadowlight Studios. I think that's what our official name is. I don't remember. We're a merger, so I don't remember exactly. But I clean up photos. I stitch together scenes. I do everything digital you could imagine. I recolor. I retouch, fix things up. Oh, this curtain's the wrong color. Oh, this faucet's the wrong material. Oh, we need to change this model and replace them with another one inside of a photo. That's all stuff within my realm. And that's pretty much all I do all day. It's in Photoshop. But I love it, so it's fun.
Do you ever get to do like the actual photography aspect, or is your job mostly with editing?
Most of my stuff is within editing, but there's like it's a partnership. It's a whole workflow. So like if there was something that needed to happen on the photography side, though I wouldn't be able to like go out and do it because that's somebody else's literal job.
Yeah.
It's not like I don't have any say on what's going on, like oh, I need you to shoot a shot that looks like this so I can use it for this reason, and like that kind of stuff. So like and I personally just don't want to do that. That doesn't sound like fun to me.
No, that's fair.
At least in a commercial sense, doesn't sound like very much fun to me. So yeah, I'm glad that I don't have to do that. I'm glad I could just sit back and be on a computer all day. It feels kind of good. It's like I'm just playing games all day.
No, fair enough.
Yeah, I'm with it. I like your ring.
Thank you.
It's a sick ass ring.
I mean, speaking of clothing, I see you've got your little logo on your hat.
Oh shit, yeah.
Well, not logo, but design on your hat.
Oh yeah. I always forget that. I unintentionally make so many clothing items that it just pours into my wardrobe, and I don't even mean for it to happen. It's very accidental. I never mean for it. Sometimes my partner will tell me like, oh, you're wearing all your clothes right now, and I'm like, oh god, that's so corny. What the heck? Like I don't want to do that, but I don't even do it on purpose half the time.
No.
Sorry, I shouldn't kick the mic.
So did you want to talk a little bit about the clothes you design and like what you're doing now?
Yeah, I guess a lot of my practice has gone into much closer to. I'm kind of focusing on this idea of like these one-line drawings, and it's kind of grown into its own thing, I guess, kind of not separate from my photography, but like I like that I can take these one-line drawings and apply them like anywhere. Like I can literally apply it in any photograph if I want. I can photograph my drawings. I can take it and put it on a clothing item. I can kind of just use it as like my universal language, and it feels really cool to be able to like, oh, I have an idea and I feel like I can put it anywhere and do whatever I want with it. And I feel like I'm kind of lucky because I finally found my thing that I feel like I can take it and put it and do whatever I want with it, but also trying to like, not make it suck. Like not do it so much that it's like lame, or like don't undervalue it because it's a thing that comes to me so easily. And like trying to find a nice balance of it. I think that's like what I'm focusing on doing right now. And I think because of my focus on trying to make the drawings better, it's just all around making my art better.
Yeah.
So, like, I feel like that's very beneficial. Oh, and I stole this idea. I feel like I should always mention that. I stole this idea from, oh my gosh, I forgot his name.
Oh, no.
Oh, I forgot his name. I think his name was like Sven or something like that. I want to say he was Swedish. He was a Swedish artist, or maybe I'm wrong. But I found him on, his name is Salventis. Or Saventis. Something along those lines. And I found him online, and he does one-line portraiture, like, of made-up images in his head and things like that. And I just saw that idea, and I was like, I really like that. And then I immediately blocked him on Instagram and everything I could find him on. Because I was like, I like this idea so much, but I don't want to accidentally copy him trying to, like, mimic him. You know what I mean? Like, I want to make it my own thing.
Yeah,
and
you don't want to, like, unconsciously be, like, referencing something you saw.
Yeah, and his work is so illustrative, and it's so simplified that it would be really easy to just kind of copy it, and it takes... And I remember I messaged him when I very first was like, I'm going to take this idea. Like, I know I'm going to take it. But I messaged him, and I asked him what it was about, and I showed him some of my work, and he immediately gave me, like, he was like, oh yeah, your work is nothing like my work.
Okay.
Because he was like, his work revolves around the process of drawing the line. And he called it momentalism, as in, like, the momentum of using the line and creating the line in the moment. It's about what you make in that moment. And even though I think that still kind of translates into my process, that's not the focus of my process. So I think that's, like, the distinction. But yeah, I always want to mention that. Because I think it's really funny, because, like, I think I've had a lot of people send me his work. It's like, oh my gosh, it reminds me so much of you. And I'm like, yeah.
I know.
Yeah, that's exactly where I got it from. Like, I just think it's always really funny to find, like, people who do similar work to you, or, like, somebody where you're like, oh man, I really want to do that, and people feel like they can't copy it, but, like, you can do whatever you want. Like, you can do whatever you need to do in the process to make the best thing that you need to make.
Yeah.
And, like, there's nothing wrong with that. You're learning all the time. And if you weren't constantly looking and reading and, like, adapting to things around you and trying to do something with it, then you wouldn't really be paying attention to the world around you at all. And that'd be kind of weird. I feel like nobody makes anything in a vacuum.
Yeah. What's that one quote? Like, great artists steal or something?
Oh, yeah. Good artists borrow, great artists steal.
There we go.
Just take everything. Like, nothing's original. It's okay. But, like, your perspective is what makes it great. So even if you're doing literally the same thing as somebody else, like, in the same way, in the same style or whatever, like, they can't tell your perspective and you can't tell theirs. And, like, that's the distinction. So don't let, like, the in-between make you all like, wow, oh no, I can't make anything. That's just stupid. Yeah. And I think people get scared into copying a lot, especially in school, because, they're like, don't plagiarize, don't copy stuff, yada, yada, yada. But, like, you also go to art history and you learn, wow, we've really been using the same, like, 10 motifs for the past 2,000 years. It's kind of crazy.
Everyone's just referencing each other over and over.
Everybody's just, like, taking stuff from each other, and then even if we're not taking stuff from each other, we're taking stuff from the quote-unquote greats. Everybody's copying, like, Venus. Everybody's copying Mother and Child. Everybody's, like, doing these things, whether we do it consciously or not. But, like, as an artist, you're not supposed to, but, like, your awareness of those things is how you can make yourself stand out from other people. So you say, like, oh, like, I know this symbol and what it's meant to other people, but this is what it means to me. And, like, that's how the conversation starts and all that stuff. It's very cool. Yeah. Art's sick. Art's so wild.
Yeah, no, I can agree with you there.
Yeah, I love it.
So how did you kind of transition from just creating the drawings into putting them on clothing itself?
My brother makes clothing. He's a graphic designer, and that's all he does.
Gotcha.
He strictly works in graphic design, and he only makes clothing. That's what he does full time. And as far as I've been aware, that's what he's always done. And I've always seen my brother do illustrations and drawings and stuff. And personally, I've never really liked a lot of my brother's things. No. like literally speaking, like, artistically, I've never really, like, liked them all. But I've always noticed his ability to take a drawing or an idea that he's had that might be really simple, that he just wrote down on a piece of paper, and then 2 weeks later, he has, like, a plush dummy, like a plush doll of the toy that he thought of as a drawing. Or, like, he has a whole collection of clothing. He has a whole sweatsuits and jackets and coats and things coming out from this drawing that he just did. And, like, actually working your idea and, like, bringing it to life, Like, every idea has no value, but every idea has value. no idea is that precious. So like you can invest in any idea that you have. You just have to pick and choose which ones you want to.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing that's helped me with my transition, is like seeing that and being like, wow, I guess there is no rules. Like there's no, something has to stay within this medium or anything like that.
Mm.
And I think with photography, that's also like, I think in contemporary photography, that's like the new rule. You know, nothing, it doesn't have to be a quote unquote just a piece of paper on the wall,
Yeah.
right? Like it can be something more than that. And even within this piece of paper on the wall, like how did that process come about? And like it can be more than just the thing on the wall. You know, it's about the process and like showing that process and how people can relate to that process and everything.
Yeah.
And I think my obsession with the process definitely ruins my ability to make the final product. Like I get so stuck in the process and showing the process that becomes the final product
Yeah.
instead of there ever actually being a final product. Like I'll show like everything that it takes to make this sculpture without actually making the sculpture ever. And I think that just comes from, you know, actually leaving art school, but like feeling like you have nowhere to place your art.
Yeah.
You know, like there is no final place for my art to go anywhere. And the closest thing that like I think like we have is like the internet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can put whatever I want on the internet and it always lives there. And that's like our place to put stuff. You know, we don't have gallery spaces and all of these things, especially as like young artists. We don't have all of these accesses to like public places to put our art. So like
It'd be nice.
yeah. So like being in schools and having places that like are willing to put your art up and everything is such a cool thing. And that's also why I think the internet is so sick for art, because we can actually share it with each other.
Yeah.
And not have to be like so what's the word? I don't know. I feel like some of the art was very pretentious. Sounds like lazy. It sounds like a lazy word to put to it because it's bigger than that, but it's like an actual denying of knowledge and like conversation to people. You know, I feel like ordinary people, quote unquote, feel like they can't participate in art and they can't go talk to people about art because there's things that they just don't get.
Mm-hmm.
Like even me saying like, oh, a Venus painting, and like all of those things, like, oh, you as an artist have that reference in your head.
Yeah.
But if I say that to somebody else, they would have no clue.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like their interactions with art are just that, coming and seeing it and then being like, I don't get it. And then that's kind of the end of it. And like nobody's talking, nobody's explaining, nobody's like helping these people understand. And I think being able to I think people like my brother who can take small ideas and be like, look, like this is the same process. This is the same thing as something you might see in a museum. You know, it's just an idea and then how I bring it to life. And then this is it. And people can relate to that process when they actually see it versus I go to a gallery and I see some giant painting of some dude, some naked dude, and I'm just like, cool. I guess it looks realistic. That's cool. That's art. And then that's everybody's definition of art. It like stops at like technical ability or something, because that's all people can really understand from art. And if you can't see it, then it's not good. And that's all like people think about it. So I think it's a very limiting perspective. But I think it's tragically the general perspective, and it's just something that's going to take time to adjust and change and everything. But yeah, art's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very sick.
And you were mentioning about like how your work can exist as more than just like a photo on the wall. And you've also been working with a lot of like more interactive mediums. Like I know you've been working with like filters and different like AI tech, not AI.
AR.
AR, that is the word. Yeah.
I never said AR before, and then I learned that is the word for it, and now I always am like, oh, it's AR. It's AR.
Yeah.
Because, but yeah, trying to make art real in places that share it with other people and make it real in their spaces along with my space, you know? Like for me, I'm surrounded by my things, and I'm surrounded by art because that's what I'm interested in. But people who don't know about art or feel like they can't get into art, you know, you can't just go, I mean, you can just go buy a piece, but like, who do I buy a piece from? What is their work about? I don't even know if it's good. Like, do I like it? Like, I don't know. And I think being able to say like, oh, like here's a Snapchat filter where you can interact with the artwork and it's for you, and you can just sit at home and now I have artwork on my phone. Now I can interact with art on my phone. Or like, oh, I have like the augmented reality thing where like it can scan a room and then I can place a sculpture in the room. And it's like, oh man, I can have art in my living room and I can interact with it. And I can be like, oh wow, this is cool. It's like 6 feet tall. Ooh, what's this sculpture? Yeah. And like actually being able to interact with it in a more familiar sense, I think also is really good. Because like when you're in a gallery space, you're in anywhere that's showing art, it's very kind of stale. And the
Very
music's
sterile.
yeah, it's very terrifying. It's like I have to be walking around with white gloves and a jacket to like touch anything, and it's always cold.
Yeah.
There's no music. It's just weird. There's just security guys in the corner. Like it's never inviting. It's never really like a conversation about the art. It's like come look at it and then get the fuck out. Look at it and then get out. And that's it. And yeah, so I think trying to figure out different ways to present art to people is like the thing that I'm really interested in.
Yeah.
I think I'm much more interested in people interacting with art and everything, and like really showing art to the world in a grander scheme than I think I am. I think I fake like I'm not into it, but I think I am into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's what I'm into.
No, fair enough.
Yeah, and I think the augmented reality and like the internet stuff is also a much easier way for younger kids to get into those kinds of things, like of sharing art and everything, because it is hard to go to a park and say, "Oh, I have a public art show. I'd like to put some statues up in Millis Park." Like they don't care. They don't care what I want to do. So like me being able to give not only myself that access, but like other people that access to be like, you can put your art wherever you want. Mm-hmm. And because I only show my process, this is how you do it.
Yeah.
And so like it's also just sharing information with each other and everything. And I think, especially at this point, we definitely speak an internet language that a lot of people don't understand. And even being able to distinguish the differences between like, you know, a Snapchat filter versus an augmented reality thing, like, you know, our parents don't care about that stuff. This means nothing to them. But I think it does give, at least me, it gives me some sort of like value knowing like, oh man, like I can put out art and it's being seen and interacted with people, even if it's not literally there for them.
Yeah, it's a lot more accessible.
Yeah, like being able to help people, anybody who needs access to art and give them access to art, I feel like is really important.
Yeah.
Yeah, and oh my gosh, I realize I'm missing my rings. Oh, that's crazy. What the heck? Oh, man. But that's definitely a thing that I feel like I try to think about a lot, is just like the gaps between art and how everybody can't quite interact with it in the best way possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I have a bigger interest in it educationally than I do in any other sense.
Yeah.
Like the fact that art, there is no art history, like genuine art history until a college level where it's something that you want to know about. Mm-hmm. But like in that same, you know, in that same world, it's like we're constantly interacting with art history and all of this imagery and branding and logos and colors and everybody trying to get our attention so we can not do what they want, but like, but so we can buy their things, so we can interact with them, and so we can do, you know. And I think it's important that people know about the things that people are trying to just essentially use against you to get you to do what they want you to do in a weird way. Even if it's just as subtle as like, oh, I want you to pick this drink over this drink. It's like, you know, you wouldn't know that you're being tricked unless somebody told you. So when I tell, like, if these people had the ability to say like, oh, I can see this iconography and say like, oh, they're just trying to trick me into getting this by making me think it's better than something else, then like, wow, that's amazing. You know, you now have the ability to kind of decide for yourself what's best for you. Yeah. But instead you don't, well, we don't all have that ability, so we just get whatever works, not even works best, we just get whatever. Yeah. Get whatever's the brightest thing there in front of you, whatever looks the best. And like, if you can't actually decipher like the language that people are trying to use against you, then you're just gonna keep losing. And that kind of sucks. No, that's not fair. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's really important, especially educationally, that we teach people about art and visual language just as much as written language or any other kind of language. Yeah. But yeah.
So how do you kind of keep pursuing things like that interest you outside of kind of being in school and having that like educational support?
I don't even know.
Well,
actually, I'll say I think I just burnt myself out and I'm like re-looping again. But for me, it comes in spurts, and like trying to always stay technically ready for when I have an idea. So like always being on YouTube and watching random tutorials, or like watching movies that I know inspire me, and I'm like, oh, I want to take that shot and use that somewhere, or like listening to things that I know make me want to make art and stuff like that, and just being ready for when I do get that inspiration, even if it's like 5 minutes, I can really do something in that 5 minutes, and I can use that 5 minutes in the best way possible, because if I wasn't ready, when that 5 minutes comes, I'm going to be pissed, because I'm going to be like, oh, I can't get this idea out, and then it's just going to make me upset, and then you're going to be like, well, I don't want to make this anymore, and then the whole thing's ruined.
Yeah.
So, like, trying to stay at least sharp on something, and I think right now my something is the drawings, and, like, this is the thing I'm going to do. I'm going to do at least, like, 10 a day, or, like, I'm going to do at least 1 a day, but, like, I'm going to dedicate something to this, because when the time comes and I'm like, you know what, I want to make some pants, I want to make a shirt, I want to take these shots, I want to do something, I want to make something, I can just do it, and I don't have to worry about, oh, am I ready for it, do I have the equipment for it, do I actually have the skills to do it? Like, I can look and say, you know, I've been working for the past month without an idea, I can definitely work when I have an idea. And so just, like, kind of picking anything and being like, this is the thing I'm going to focus on, this is the thing I want to be good at, and just, like, actually giving it the attention it deserves.
Yeah.
Yeah, because even if it's not a... No, yeah, I think that's it.
No, yeah, I totally makes sense.
And I think it definitely is hard after school, because you just get burnt out from life, because now you're in life all the time, and separate from art, life's just a lot of stuff all the time. But life is such a heavy reflection of your art that it becomes hard to balance out both of them. And then it's like, because it's like art life and then your job, which kind of consumes everything.
Yeah.
Your job will consume everything, because unfortunately you have to make money to live. So, like, that will be the thing that will kind of take over your life, and trying to just find a good balance for yourself in those situations. And even if it's on your 15-minute break being like, you know, I'm going to do a sketch of this person walking down the hall or something. But, like, dedicating something to that, because, you know, that will pay off eventually. It'll never be immediately. It might be in, like, 2 years, where you're 2 years into sketching once a day, but, like, you finally get that opportunity to do something, and then you can show up for it. And then you can be kind of proud, because, like, you know, oh, I didn't waste my time. Or, you know what I mean? And, yeah.
Yeah. So it's all kind of about being, like, patient, not, like, pushing yourself, like, harder than you need to.
Yeah. Like, you do what you need to do when the time comes, but, like, you know, wait till the time comes.
Yeah.
You can't make it happen. But you can do things to prepare yourself for when it does happen.
Yeah.
And honestly, even if it doesn't happen, as long as you're always preparing yourself, you'll still taking those steps towards making something happen.
Yeah.
Like, you're always taking a step forward, and even if it's not that leap, it's still a step forward.
Yeah, you're not just standing still.
Yeah, and, like, you have to keep moving, and if you don't keep moving, you lose. Isn't that what sharks do? They, like, fall asleep or something crazy like that.
Something like that, yeah.
I feel like that's not true. That can't be true. There's no way.
I think there's some that, like, they have to, like, keep moving at least a little bit, I think.
I can't believe that. I don't believe that. They gotta just be floating there. Oh, well, I'm sorry, they can't be floating there. Oh, wait, no, yeah, they're just floating there. Fish just float there. They can't just always be swimming. That's so silly. That sounds like something some old guy said, and everybody was like, oh, yeah. Must be right. It's not.
I guess, how have you kind of approached work, and, like, how you've been making and, like, what you've been making now, as opposed to, like, while you were in school and, like, making things for specific assignments and for specific professors? Like, how has your work kind of evolved since then?
Oh, you know, that's crazy. A chapter of my book was just talking about this. I think it's a book that they make you read in art school, Art and Fear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have that one myself.
Yeah, have you read it?
Uh-huh.
Okay, because I did not read it. I didn't read a single book that they told us to. Actually, no. I read a lot of them, but I only read all of the photo ones. I didn't read any of the, like, more broad art ones, or art history ones.
I can sympathize with that.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not doing all that. But I'm reading them all now, and I think it's like, you know, before you have prompts, like you said, and you use the prompts, and, like, those are your rules and everything. And I think when you leave school, there's no more prompts. It's whatever I give myself. Oops. And I think you have to put yourself in a position to always want to see your own work. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be excited about your work because nobody else is going to be.
Yeah.
And also trying really hard to surround yourself with people who are excited about your work, even if it's one person. Because, like, when you don't feel like seeing your work, having somebody else wanting to see it will make it so much easier. And they were talking a lot in the book. They mentioned, what is it? Oh, there's a difference between, like, stopping and quitting. You know, and it's like, you can stop producing work and take the time that you need to before it's time for you to make your next thing. And that could be forever. But I think, that could be 2 years, that could be 10 years, that could be 50. Like, you can take as much time as you need between making things. But I think when people stop, they feel like they have to quit. Like, as if, like, because I'm not living and breathing this every day, I'm not allowed to make it or something like that, And especially after school when you were just dedicating, like, 50 hours a week to just sitting there and making things all day, every day. Everybody around you is doing the same thing. You all agree this is the thing that you want to do. Like, it is the best thing in the world. This is approved, yes. And then you leave, and then you have none of that.
Yeah.
And it's like, you have to be the one to validate yourself in those worlds. And you have to be the one to tell yourself what you're doing is valuable, Because there is no, especially with something like art, because it's a personal and everything. So it's very like, I want to share this with people. Even if you don't really want to share it, you still, something about you wants to make it over. It has to be out in the world. It can't be inside of my head, or for whatever reason, it can't exist in here. It has to be outside.
Yeah.
And when it leaves outside, eventually it's going to live a life of its own, and it's going to interact with other people and everything. And even if that's not something that you're interested in, I think it is a necessary part of the process, even if it's only one person sees it. And if that one person is you genuinely acknowledging your work, not you making it and thinking like, I could have made something better, or like, it's whatever, it's just practice, like as if it means nothing. But you really being like, this is something that, I made a piece of art. I made a piece of work after this. Not, I made a practice, I made, a test run. Oh, it doesn't mean anything, it's bullshit. Like, no, I sat down and I took the time and I made a piece of artwork, and it is what it is, and it is valuable in its form right then and there, decided by me, And I think that's a stage that it seems like that's a stage people get when they're way older. But I'm not trying to, I don't want to wait that long. Yeah, I'd rather appreciate my art as early as I can. I hope it doesn't take that long. But like being able to be okay and fully validated in making the art, not whatever comes with the art, I don't even remember what the question was. I babbled too much.
Oh, no, you're good. It's all cool to listen to regardless, so. So how kind of, especially since when COVID hit, you were still in school, kind of how did that affect your work and just your life in general?
I think it made my work better because I already didn't go outside and I already didn't really, despite everything I said about wanting to share art with the world and everything, I don't really like interacting with people.
Yeah.
It's so weird. It just really make that much sense. But like, so being able to sit there and just make art was kind of great for me, and I think honestly it was kind of a cheat because after art school, for a lot of people, like I said earlier, you don't have those prompts, you don't have anything, you don't even have time because student loans are coming.
Yeah.
Student loans are coming, and you need a 40+ hour job to pay these joints because you just need it. It's just reality of the situation. But for me, it was like school's done, everybody stay inside for like 4 months. And nobody go outside for any reason, which fantastic for art makers. My God, I don't have to go anywhere. Like if your practice means that you sit there and just make art and you don't really need to go anywhere, you don't need that outside like interaction and everything, then that was amazing for you. And I think it was good for me because it just really gave me time to sit down and like actually look at the things that I was interested in and what I wanted to do. And I kind of got to ride the train of like fresh out of school, or still being in like that art mode of like thinking about making art all the time and wanting to make art all the time, and then going straight into like a couple of months where I can just keep doing it, and then keep doing it, transitioning into my job. So it's like I haven't really left that art mode fully yet, and I feel like I'm really lucky for that because I feel like I can see a lot of people have left that art mode, just because it was a heavy situation, and it did affect a lot of people, and it is like had fairly serious consequences and everything. But I think I just luckily rode that art making train all the way till now. Yeah. And even when it started, I didn't make clothing until I needed money to pay for rent, and then I paid my rent with it and was like, shit, I can make stuff that people want and make money. That's crazy. And then,
good feeling.
Yeah, it's so nuts, especially during quarantine where it's like the world is on everybody's shoulders and everything feels terrible and nobody knows what's going on. And then it's like, oh, shit, I can make a couple pieces and then be good. Like, that's cool. Yeah. And then kind of just riding that all the way till now. And then now I think being able to be reflective and look back and then say like, what, not like, what was I doing then better than now, but like, you know, what was successful then and what was working, how was I making things, how was I thinking about things versus what I'm doing now, and then like not constantly looking back, but just every now and then just reflecting, especially when, because like now I think I wanted to make more clothing. I think I want to make more clothing, but I don't think I should.
Yeah.
I don't think like in my cyclical process, I don't think I'm actually ready for it. I don't think
Gotcha.
I will make the best thing that I can make, even though I want to make clothing. And I know I won't make the best thing that I need to make. So like respecting my cycle and knowing how I make stuff and everything. I think that's another big thing about art making is knowing how to not like inspire yourself, but knowing how to just put yourself in that mode to make art. And I think that also comes with that thing of like always being in practice, because you then develop a level of discipline that you kind of have in school, where it's like, you know, when the professor says like, look, this is your last day, it's already been a week late, you're like, oh, let me tighten up real quick. And so I think like keeping that discipline within yourself of like, all right, let me tighten up, you know, even though I'm only making this for myself, it's not only myself, this is, let me make the best thing that I can.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah. I don't even remember what the question was. Man, I can't remember a single question.
No, you're good.
Oh, I keep trying. Especially these last two. Yeah, no.
I mean, I feel like you've answered them.
I hope so. I hope so. Oh my gosh.
So what kind of advice would you give to people, kind of like how you were transitioning from being in school to kind of like finding a job in like the photography and art market now? Like, what would you want to tell people?
For trying to get a job or transitioning out of school?
Both.
If you want to get a job, networking, disgusting word, worst word in the invention of, you know, sadly, most of the art world, most of the creative fields are all nepotism. And so it's just people giving the other people they like, and there are people giving people they like what they want, essentially. And that being that, make sure your skill and craft is where you want it to be. So when you do find somebody who likes you enough to give you something, you can really present for yourself. You know, don't prioritize needing people and wanting your art to be seen over making the art itself. You know, like the art, it's about the art, so the art comes first. Everything else is secondary. But yeah, the networking, not like staying in contact, but actually nurturing those relationships. You know, and this is gonna sound bad. I don't mean this to sound bad, but like, quote unquote, overvaluing yourself, because I think we're taught to undervalue ourselves, or like we're forced to undervalue ourselves by doing a lot of free work in the art world. You know, do it for exposure. Yeah, free work. Yeah, you just come over here. You know, I'll give you an internship later. Like, you know, just a lot of crap that people try to kind of sneak out of us, especially because we're young and we make art, and art's not serious, and you know nobody cares. But I forgot what I was saying.
About under and overvalued.
Thank you so much. But don't go into a situation saying like, you know, I know what I'm worth. Give me this as if you deserve a thing from somebody in any situation. Sadly enough, we have to work within a lot of these stupid systems that only value certain things. But you know, we've been watching these systems for a while, and we know how they work, and we can definitely cheat them much better than these old people are pretending like we can. So if that means you have to do free work at a gallery for like 6 months, but then you can do whatever you want after that, then just do the free work for 6 months. Shit's gonna suck because it's supposed to suck this early in life. Nothing's gonna be that easy. But if you actually do the work that you need to do for yourself and your artwork, it'll always show, and it'll always like come out. It just will. like it can't stay in. So like if you're doing what you're, and I don't mean supposed to be doing as in like, you know, there is actually some finite path, because, you know, only you know what you're supposed to be doing. You know what you want best for yourself.
Yeah.
And so, like, actually following that path and laying out the blocks for you to go reach that goal and actually go do that is very, very important. And even if it's only, like, you know, set yourself up for, like, a month and say, like, you know what, this is my goal for the month. And if that's too much, this is my goal for the week. You have a goal for the day. I work in goals of the day because that's way easier for me. I'll forget about things that are supposed to happen later. So, like, having goals for the day where it's very easy, and just making sure you're constantly reaching those goals, even if they're small goals, because reaching a goal is still reaching a goal. There's no, one's not more valuable than the other. Oh, they're all the same, really. So just keep doing that. Stay on yourself. Stay responsible for yourself. Don't be a baby. You can do it. What else? Ask questions a lot. I noticed even in my current job, there's times where people will refer to things and say things like, that's the standard, or like, that's how it is, or like, just ask why.
Yeah.
Always ask why, so you have an understanding of what's going on, even if nobody else does. Ask as many questions as you can and learn as much as you can, because we live in a weird world where we make things very complicated, and we hire 5 people to do one job. And listen, if you're like 23 and you go into your new job and you can do 5 people's jobs for the same pay, or you can do so much more for like the same pay, you'll put yourself in a great position. Work within the system to make yourself not successful, but work within the system to figure out a way to put yourself in a good spot so you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
The system is not always set up amazingly for everybody, but try to do the best that you can within it until we figure out how to destroy it, or until we figure out how to fix it. And pay attention to things around you, and like what's going on around you. I feel like it's very easy in the world where we have constant access to everything happening worldwide, but a lot of people don't know what's going on in their own cities. People don't know who their local mayors are. People don't even know where their police stations are. Like, people don't know where their local hospitals are, and like, these are important things.
Yeah.
And they're very small things. Not even small things. These are real things that really affect you. But I think, especially growing up with the internet, you're immediately connected to everything in the world. Why would I only focus on this? But like, especially I think now in my age of like being like, dang, I live here in this place, and I don't know anything about these people that are around me. And like, I live in their city. They don't live in my city. So like, I have no concept of the culture around me, the people around me, or anything like that. And I think having that awareness and being able to do things and actively live your life locally, I think is much more valuable than people act like it is.
Yeah.
Going down the street and being able to get whatever you need to sustain your life is much, much better than going to Walmart or something like that, going to your local place. So, yeah.
All right. So would you like to kind of like, if anyone would want to find you online, or do you have any places they should find you at?
KarimGavins.com.
All right.
That's all I got. Other than that, I don't exist.
No.
I'm off the grid. Don't come for me. Don't message me. I don't exist.
Well,
I'm an enigma.
Thank you for coming and talking to me. This was very nice.
Of course.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.